Hi,
Hey, Daniela. Hi. How are you?
how are you doing?
Oh, thank you. I'm fine. I'm fine. Thanks. I just I believe we had some mismatch with the invitation link or something. But
Yeah, with the link. Yeah,
I'm very sorry if I made you wait.
no
But
problem. No problem, man. I'm happy to be here.
oh, thank you, thank you. Well, I had the chance to say a little more things about you to the audience that they probably didn't know already. We have been playing your music a lot, and Highway has been Song of the Week from, I think it was like a bunch of weeks ago now. And
Wow.
we all loved it. It was a beautiful, beautiful track. And we got very intrigued by your music and your personality, and by digging into your character, if I can call it so.
Yeah.
I discovered a lot of things that are amazing, and so it's beautiful. It's great for them and for me to have you here and hear it from your own voice, which I think is the most important thing. So
Thank you so much. It means a lot.
I need to draw like a timeline of your artistic life for them. I understand that you come from a family of painters. So you were set into already into an artistic kind of scenery, and and then you studied a whole bunch of instruments like cello and the drum line, and then you studied what was it, clarinet?
Clarinet, yeah. When they put us in school, the first instruments we were choosing, I was doing clarinet, winds, percussion. It was like all the early stuff. It was so influential, to
It,
have also the privilege of a music program in school was,
well,
monumental for learning music.
it is monumental. It's got to be, because if you consider that in our country, all we get to study, because we have a music plan here too, but
Yeah.
but it's flute, and you learn to play an instrument which has no use like anywhere.
Yeah.
It's so limited. So I'm very envious of the fact that in schools in the U.S. you can get to learn clarinet or many more instruments. So was that your musical imprinting, like in terms of curiosity towards instruments and music?
I think it was first with my dad. We had a piano at home. So every day, and still to this day, my dad's 77 and he'll play piano every day, top of the day to the end of the day. You're going to see him at the piano writing or just playing whatever songs he's learning. So just being exposed to that, that was like definitely my musical imprint of like, first instrument I'm touching is the piano at like 3 years old because I was watching a lot of Disney and sounding out the keys of all the Disney songs. I was like infamous at home for memorizing the full soundtrack. And they were like, that's really weird that you can just, sound by ear at such a young age. So it was piano, guitar, drums, and all like those foundational instruments that were kind of just around. We had a guitar, we had a piano when I was growing up. So I was just picking it up as a kid and just, once I got in school, we're branching out from there and getting to learn all the other stuff. I was just excited to learn it all. Yeah.
So you were naturally driven to music. And can I ask what was what was your father taste in music? What did he used to play on the piano?
𝗬𝗪𝗓𝗄. That was like the
Oh,
first things he was playing for me. 𝗬, Astrid, Stan Getz. He loved James Brown. He was listening to like Norah Jones. Norah Jones maybe was the first female vocalist in the kind of like jazz R&B realm. He loved her. So I was just listening to a lot of her. He loved Shaka Khan, Sade. All those foundational soul kind of influences came from him. He loved Stevie Wonder too. So I
yeah.
was listening to a lot of Stevie Wonder and Prince and stuff like that. So those were early influences for me.
I can tell you have a beautiful piano there in your room. And
First time owning a piano. I just got it tuned like a month ago and I've been writing on it ever since. It's so nice.
is it old? Is a new? Is it a brand new? Is it brand new?
It's about, my piano tuner said it should be about over 50 years old. It hadn't been tuned in over 30 years just
Wow.
by the age of the strings. So it came from a family, some Hindu family that was like a piano dealership near my hometown that my dad was working with. They were getting rid of 6 pianos. So it was either going to the trash or I was going to get one. I was like, I got to get one of those. And I had it untuned for like maybe 3-4 years and I just tuned it. So.
Wow. People save pets. You save pianos. That's beautiful.
Piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saved it from destruction.
Oh, yeah.
So how did it all start for 𝗧𝗪𝗼𝗼 as a musician? Because even the name has a story. I know the story because I read it, but they don't know about the name 𝗧𝗪𝗼𝗼. And once again, it has to do with your father.
Yeah. Yeah. Panther was like a nickname that he gave me when I was little. So my first artist name was Little Panther. That was what he used to call me. And it just kind of evolved through friends and people calling me whatever. But yeah, so that was kind of the start of having, I guess, like a moniker to share my music with. I used to share it under my government name on YouTube. Like when I was in middle school, I would cover songs on ukulele and acoustic guitar and put it up on YouTube when it was like YouTube Live. So you would just turn on YouTube Live, and the first songs I ever wrote were on YouTube Live. I just turned it on one day. The first cover I did was Valerie by Amy Winehouse. The second thing I did after uploading that, I just turned on the live button and just started writing my own songs on guitar in Japan at my uncle's house, because I was there for like a trip and I was alone in that office just writing songs, and I would turn it on every day that I was there. And that was the beginning. And then SoundCloud came about, and started to share music on SoundCloud and MySpace and all those early streaming things. But it was like YouTube and SoundCloud were the start.
Would you consider yourself as a self-taught musician, or you took lessons and you know music because you studied music?
It was really a mix. I had formal instruction maybe from the time that I was like 4 to like around 9, 11 years old, with piano instruction, really mild guitar classes. I maybe took like 3 or 4. And then I really, really stuck to drums. Once I was like 8, I got a drum set, and I was taking lessons with Matt Westfall, probably for like 4 years, I would say. And that was really like framework music making moment for me.
And you were self-taught at Logic and GarageBand, because those were the apps that the software that you started using when you wanted to create your music. Was it?
Yeah, that was all taught at home.
Was it hard to figure out?
It was. I will say GarageBand was like so user friendly. So when I was in middle school, it was very like you saw the record button and you would just hit it and figure it out. So that was my first experience with that. Logic was a little tougher. My parents wanted me to move to like a formal recording setup if I was going to do music as a career. So I took this Logic certified class back when you could take classes for that at Apple, like at the Apple store.
Yep.
And took maybe 2 classes, and then the rest I just learned at home and moved to Ableton, and I've been working on Ableton ever since.
Oh, so you're an Ableton Live user, okay?
Yes, yes.
Simple. I mean, you like it simple, and which is good. It's very user friendly too. When you started putting out your music and your first singles, did you? How did you react to the attention? Because, I mean, suddenly, like at some stage, you started getting, like after the These Days EP, you started getting huge attention. But before that, did you see it develop? How did you see it grow? One song from another.
Yeah, totally. I had 2 different projects. So at the time when I was just releasing 𝗧𝗪𝗼𝗼 songs, I had this other side project called Quiet Girl, which is now known as Danny Universe. It was like a indie music. It was just like my indie music that I would write apart from hip hop, and I created a band for it, and we were kind of like side touring it for like a couple years. And that was starting to draw a lot of like local show attention. I was like maybe touring that project for like 3 years. And on SoundCloud, you would start noticing the more shows you're playing, the more people are starting to listen and find out who these people are. And it was really interesting for me, the response, because people would slowly start discovering 𝗧𝗪𝗼𝗼 music through that stuff, or vice versa. Like people that were listening to 𝗧𝗪𝗼𝗼 were listening to Quiet Girl. So it was really cool to like just naturally see the types of kids floating towards the music from all different genres, all different realms. And that was a really interesting developing period, I'd say, because I got to really organic fan response and kind of like followed the things that were like just hitting in the ways that I felt this taste was reflective of the taste of kids in my generation. And it was cool building it from all of our taste. You know, the early SoundCloud days was a lot of days of digging and getting inspired that way. So I got inspired just through seeing response.
What would they say? What would they write?
All the comments still to this day are, put this on Spotify, because I never ever put my other project on Spotify for whatever reason. I didn't know how streaming really worked back then. I was too young. So, but yeah, it was really cool. I was just starting to see people ask if they could use my song in YouTube videos of theirs, and it started sprinkling in vlogs and skate videos and stuff like that. So I was like, wow, this is something that people are actually enjoying and wanting to use for their own stuff. So I just kept going.
Did the audience ever give you tips or directions on what to do and what not to do?
Not really. It was always like just kids poking in to be like, this is really cool. Can I use this for this? Or like the most direction I really got was I had this group of skate friends that needed beats for their skate videos. So they would come over and literally tell me what kind of beats to make for their videos and then end up using them. So that was fun. That was fun. So those are my critics back then.
So you started getting attention even of top players, like some very important producers and collaborators that you started working with, and then the These Days EP came out, which is, you know, it's a baptism on fire in a way. You know, it's the big deal, and it turned out to be an incredible big deal. Even to be featured, I don't know, to be a top pick on Michelle Obama's playlist, which is, you know, not a common thing for a newcomer. So yeah. I'll ask you about Michelle later, but please tell me, like, how did you see this thing grow up immensely, and how did you react to this?
I think it grew through being personable to people, and that this music has attracted obviously people from all different realms and genre appreciation. So it's kind of like, once I started noticing that the range that I was producing in was kind of like my audience, because you usually try to present music in a singular form. Like, this is my statement, this is where I'm coming from. But for me, it's always been, the range is the multitude of the people poking in to listen and getting excited. So that was a huge part of the growth, is kind of maximizing, like, not pigeonholing myself to one genre or one way of making music. It was really just follow your instinct and look at all these people that kind of start swarming in from all different places and communities. So for me, that's the most important thing that I noticed when it was growing, is like how many different types of people like this music. And yeah, just seeing it naturally grow. Really, I'm still discovering who.
Of course, yeah. You gotta be.
It's really great. Yeah.
That mixing of musical genres and influences, it's that cocktail, if I can call it so. It's very defining of your music, and it made me wonder, because I mean, nowadays we've seen any type of match, any type of mix, and it's very surprising when you actually see something that has been done before, but that it sounds new. And it's incredible. Your music sounds really modern. It sounds like it hasn't been explored before. But yet you're mixing soul or funk or rap or R&B, which, you know, many others before you have done. So how do you explain this thing? What is new about you?
I think it's the unconventional ways in which I'll sit down to produce a song. It's very like a reflection of how scatterbrained I am, I think. And I think that scatterbrainedness will bring new elements into the music. Like, I wouldn't normally, you know, for a palette that's supposed to be a soul song, inject a bunch of new age sounds and synthesizers and pedals and just kind of ways to branch out the normal instrumentation. Like, for my EP, a fun thing I was exploring was like, what if we like took a car sound screeching for highway and like super beefed it up with like a boss pedal and starting to like create like different environments in that type of music. So I think whether it's like ambience like that, or whether it's like stretching an instrument like saxophone, same thing, started doing a lot of like sound design with like really random things that add a texture, an extra texture that you're not really like listening for naturally. Because they don't really come from melody. They come from kind of just like random sound design moments. So for me, I think maximizing that is really pushing the music forward and going with instinct, really, because you try to write music in a certain format, but I think breaking the format is really where you find the rich stuff that people get excited about.
So do you care if others may like what you're doing in that moment when you're arranging it, or do you care if you're gonna like it?
It's really about if I like it, that's a main thing that I think I've tried to keep the framework of the music. It's like what I'm personally looking for, and then you never know who else is looking for that same thing, but you won't discover that until you kind of go with your gut and take a risk in the music and see what happens, but this EP I think was a great reflection of those risks and like the people that can appreciate those risks and seeing new things in them.
So the songwriting process, if we can get into this, is how does it start? Like, take a song like Highway. How do you start from a sound like screeching wheels, distorted and processed, or you sound from melody? Like you take an instrument, you take a guitar or a piano, and you start writing the melody and the harmonies and everything that comes with it, and then you start producing it and arranging it. What is your workflow like?
Right. So each song was different on that EP, but most part I start with rhythm section. So that song in particular started with the doom, 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 that like thing was just like coming in. So I put the drums down first, like just program drums. And then I played on my drum set. I have this let me show you. It's a really shitty drum set. Worst drum set ever. It's like 3-piece. It's really nothing. But I started playing the ride super loud and like just having that like just the rhythm section was building. So then I picked up my bass right after and the dum, dum, dum. And then everything just kind of stemmed from that. And all the post-production stuff happened in studio. So I finished all these songs at home and then took them to my friend 𝗓𝕗𝗧𝗪𝗓, who helped co-produce all this music in LA. And his studio had a bunch of like the gear that I really didn't have. So it was like, oh, we finally get to take and explore and find so many new sounds through the studio. So all the sound design stuff happened with him. Random ideas were both exchanging and just seeing how we can push the production levels, past the demo point.
So it varies on the song. So some songs they have more of a, I don't know. This reminded me of more of a rap approach, like working on the bass track and then working on the vocals, and also Highway obviously is a more rapped kind of. There's less melody. There's more rhythm, pace in the vocals than singing. But do you ever write songs like starting from an instrument like the piano or guitar and the melody?
Yeah, I got you started on keys. That was like a only keys demo with voice, and then those like program drums that are still on there. But a lot of songs will start on, like all my new stuff now is starting on piano. Like I'm just writing only on piano and then kind of building the song around that. But I got you started on keys. Basically all those songs started on either drums, bass, or keys on that EP. And then were post-produced later on and new elements were brought into that.
So if we have to rebuild a secondary timeline, which is the one that takes place from publishing these days, releasing that to the public, to today, where I believe, are you working on an album? Because that is a question, obviously, I want to ask you later, but just yes or no answer in this case.
I'm definitely working on new stuff. Hopefully, I'm just stacking music right now, and it's definitely a backlog that could be a couple different projects, a couple different directions, singles. But there's a definite backlog.
And I'll ask you about that on a separate question in the Sharon Van Etten project, obviously, which is really cool. But like, let's draw a timeline. What happened after these days came out in your life? How did you see your career change?
I think a lot of artists I was a fan of started becoming a fan and excited about the music. So it was like a very validating moment in knowing that the direction that I'm going with my music is kind of one worth putting more energy into, which was cool. I started seeing people like Beck pop in and be fans of the music, and, Q-Tip and, all different types of people and communities coming in. And
do they ask for collaborations, or do they give you advice? Do you ask them for advice?
It was with Q-Tip. It was funny. He called me the day after my birthday and said, "Hey, Saint Panther," and it was just like, just expressing that he was a fan and getting excited because he's like comparing it to, the early days of like Tribe and telling me, you know, tidbits of their history, and it was really exciting, just really natural, your community gravitating towards you, the people that gravitate towards that music, just saying they're fans. And yeah, you know, hopefully we work together, you know, in the future with all these folks. It's becoming a really exciting community that, you know, people wouldn't know unless they're sliding through my DMs, but it's very, very exciting evolution, obviously, after a project comes out, to have so many people, you know, welcoming the music.
Were you approached by Sharon Van Etten? Did she approach you?
That was the most analog discovery. She was reading the LA Times article that did a piece on me, and she hit my management and was like, I would love for St. Panther to do a cover on this upcoming album reissue that we're doing. And I hadn't heard her music before, and I was panicking. I was like, how am I going to do this right if I really haven't like lived with the soul of this last 10 years of these songs? But it was maybe the best thing that could happen when you're bringing a new version of a song like that. So yeah, that was cool to have someone like her reach out and find her community too.
And also, like, her feedback was absolutely amazing. I mean, to read that you gave a different take, like you gave her a different angle, you know, to look at the song, because you gave it youth. You reminded of the youth and freshness of when she wrote it, when she first wrote it. I think it was amazing.
That was really genuine and sweet. I'm really glad that turned out as good as it did, you know.
Did you listen to it, any of her music apart from that album that went to the anniversary, and you listen like songs like 17 or stuff like that?
Yeah, 17. Oh my God. She has a way of really, really like putting you in a potent emotion. So that is what made covering that song so simple. It was like, I love this song right away, and I also resonate with all of these emotions. So yeah, I mean, her catalog.
Did you get to pick the song, or she suggested one day for you?
I got to choose. So it was naturally the song that I was like, wow, this like sticks out in such a way. Like just the hook melody is what got me. The way that she sings that is just incredible. So yeah, naturally became a huge fan of her for this project.
Were you surprised when Michelle Obama told the public that she was a fan and that you were a top pick on her playlist?
That is crazy. That's just not something you really fathom. Like you said, as a newcomer, you're thinking, you know, whoever's going to pop in, but you never think, you know, anyone from politics is going to give you a nod. And I love Michelle Obama and just the female empowerment that she stands for, you know, through her politics. So for me, that's meaningful, you know, to just have a woman that I've admired, you know, in the last couple of years, just give you a nice nod for the music.
Yeah. What's funny is that both Michelle and Barack, they became, I think unwillingly, they became musical influencers. They
did, really did.
which is something that Trump, he didn't manage to become a music influencer, because he got everyone alienated. All the people that he played got alienated with the fact that he was playing them. So
yeah. I mean, it's a much cooler thing to be a part of an Obama than a Trump playlist. That's for sure.
How did did you talk to her about, I don't know, what do you like in music? What music do you like? And
no interaction. It was really just a true little gift of a surprise that they were like, hey, by the way, you know, you're on Michelle Obama's playlist. I'm like, that's, you know, that's everything. All I really got to hear is that she personally heard the song. So for me, I was thinking some intern maybe selected that and just threw it in there off of some pitches, but it was nice to hear that she actually heard the song, especially in the climate that we were in. I think that was what was meaningful for me, is like, wow, we never know. That's why music is important. We never really know how far it can reach, and you never know. What if she heard that on a day where an important decision was being made and that influences something? You just really never know how far music reaches. So for me, that's special.
How far into the making of your first album are you?
I definitely have a backlog worth at least 2 separate projects.
Wow.
What is going to make it into a next project? Who knows? Because I'm still writing with a bunch of different artists and exactly exploring that community, collaborative community. So it's very, very exciting right now. But right now, I think it's going to look like either an EP might come out next, a longer EP,
another
or
one. Okay.
An album. Yeah, we're still gauging it. You know, a lot of the response for the next stuff coming out really kind of dictates a lot of the direction of where we're going. But if response is right, if the times are ready for an album, I have the music ready.
I mean, albums were, something that when I was a kid, or when a lot of people in my community were kids, we were used to albums being released. We weren't used to singles being released before the album as anticipations on the album. So it all changed. It all changed in the past few years. So my question is an album still a relevant thing for an artist, or are EPs better way, or singles better ways of, keeping updated? Just, okay, this is me now, and this is me a month later.
Right. I think with the digital age, it's really mood of the moment. It's hard to tell, what emotional space people are in to be receiving albums or singles or whatever. So it's really what you're feeling as an artist is your current statement of the moment. Like sometimes I'll feel like I just want to put out a single just to see how people are responding to a certain sound. Or now I'm starting to see like A/Bs and kind of those mood packs that are just like 3 songs at a time, 2 songs at a time are starting to become a more popular, fun thing to do. I think that's a great way also to like just explore musically without having to call it one central narrative album. But I think it is important to still preserve some concept of albums, because I think you really find your community in that way, in a sense of like finding a full presentation of like, this is the world that I was just building. People really still enjoy that. So I think it's really the space that you're in the moment, and sharing it, and hopefully people are as receptive to whatever space you're in. But I think it's all valid. Sharing music, period, is valid. So however you choose to do that, fuck yeah.
Apart from being a universal tragedy, was being on lockdown an opportunity as well?
Definitely. I think sitting with our emotions as a humanity was super, super important for music and for art right now, is to kind of have a reflective space where we're working with a lot of world changes. We're working with a lot of things that are happening, that are hurting, that are, also at the same time, technology is advancing. That's exciting. There's a lot of things to talk about. So I feel like we regrouping, at home for a year was a very important thing to just get back into the world in a new lens. So I think that was really important for art, is also kind of asking ourselves what we're saying and how music contributes to the conversations that are happening globally. I think it was really important for us to kind of all have that dormant moment and really think about what we're putting out in the world.
I watched the video for These Days, and I thought it was a brilliant idea. Well, the live video for These Days, there's a big difference. I thought the idea was just great, to see you walking from outside the venue, walking into the venue, and then just starting playing on the piano, and then getting all the other the backing vocalists and all the other musicians to join in. I thought it was a beautiful concept, but that's another factor. You live. What is a St. Panther's gig gonna be like? Because probably just as much as the music is going to be a unity of different moods, of different moments. What can I expect if I came to see a gig?
I think now I'm really working towards making my friends that you saw in the live video a more formal part of like when we're playing festivals and all the stuff that we're booked for right now. I think it's a nice experience to play with people behind you. I've done it separate. I've done it with people. And for me, the funnest experiences I've had are with my friends and with a band behind it. So hopefully for most of the stuff, we're seeing a band behind it for future stuff. And then, there's going to be moods where I just want to have a DJ set, or I just want to have, my just own sound design, my own laptop, and just kind of show people how I produce on my own and have different expressions of that music. But what you can't expect, what's been the same thread from the days I started playing shows, is that every show is different in its own way. And I try to make it different, whether it's like the set list or the way that we're playing songs. It's like, I just want to keep surprising people, with all the different ranges, So
for some things, you remind me of the attitude of Beck and Grimes, for instance. Like Grimes, she would have shows where she would play the mixer and then add instruments and do it all herself. And Beck would have the curiosity to have an acoustic set next to an electric set or a DJ set. It was beautiful. You remind me of, you have all those attitudes built into you, which is amazing, I think.
I appreciate that. Those are the minds that I admire and that really inspired me growing up. So I think that is really like an important framework of what makes my music what it is. So hopefully I keep bringing the surprises and exciting elements.
There's one question still about these days, and it's about the lyrics. How does a song like These Days keep helping you? Because that's a song that deals with losing someone. So does the song keep helping you even after you've written and recorded it and probably listened to it a bunch of times? Does it still have a healing factor to it, or does it lose it once it's out?
That is the first song I've really experienced that with, since I, oddly enough, a year later from, losing someone, another friend of mine just passed from an overdose, and I was sitting down to write music just a couple weeks ago, and I was like falling on hard moments. I was like, I don't know if I can get a song out today without crying, just falling apart with this music. And I started playing These Days because that was one of his favorite songs, my friend's songs. And I just started playing it on the piano, and it was healing, that those words, in a way, thinking of it in the context of like, that song used to comfort my friend that passed away, and now he, passed away, and it's comforting me. So you never know, songs like that have effects that are lasting. And for me, that song is always going to have that memory association of like mourning, of trying to heal past the mourning, remembering that days keep going and that things are going to be okay. And yeah, that song still holds that meaning, definitely. And it gets stronger every time you lose someone or you feel that feeling.
Just a couple of final questions, if you let me.
Yes.
Are you a workaholic? How much time do you spend working on music? I mean, according to your room and what I can see now, it must be a lot of time. But do you really spend long sessions of work?
Yeah, last 2 days, top of the morning to midnight, I've been recording. So it'll have its seasons. Sometimes the last thing I want to do is be in front of the computer all day. Sometimes that's the only thing I want to do. So it's like really maximizing on the moments that I really am inspired and want to be here all day, which is usually all the time. Since I have my stuff in the center of the place, my room has always been, the bed is the smallest part and the music is the biggest part. Yeah. It's the first apartment I have where the room is separate from the workspace, but it's still very much, 80, if not 90% of the time is here. And I enjoy that, My
final question is about your voice. Your way of singing is very unique.
Thank you.
Is it a product of perfecting it? How did you find your voice? Like, did it come naturally? Was it your natural way of singing, or was it a product of several influences, or just thinking, okay, I can perfect this, I can make it into this way of singing?
Yeah. Since I was little, I've sung. How great, I'm not exactly sure, but I had a baby voice to myself all this while. So it was really like, how am I going to use it? To me, it's like a baby voice in my head, but it's your natural voice. So to me, I started listening more as an adult, the more I'm recording. So I like the low ranges of my voice. I like the smoothness of like when I'm talking, there's kind of just some kind of imaginary silk layer there in my head. So it's really maximizing those fluctuations of your voice. And something that people don't really know is that I had a tumor on my vocal cords for like the last 3 years that I just got removed. And that was a huge part of finding my voice. Really, like, fighting through those challenges made me highlight the points that are strongest in my voice. So that was a huge formative thing, and just centralizing because there's no way to fake what your voice sounds like when your voice is in pain and limited. Like, I truly discovered how I sang in those moments, in those years. So natural evolution, the challenges of performing a lot and finding, physical moments like that, but just naturally exploring your voice and the ways it sounds the most exciting, digging into that and maximizing that.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You've been extremely kind. You stay even longer than we arranged. So thank you.
This is awesome. Thank you for having me.
Well, I hope to have you again after you release an album or anything like it. You can use the space as a way of promotion anytime. So I'll be just as privileged as today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Happy to be back anytime.
Thank you. Okay, you can just hang up and I'll go back to the live. Thank you.
Yes, peace.